a lot of companies are excited about machine learning, AI, these kinds of things, but a lot of the time they don't actually even have their house in order to be able to start looking at that. You have to get all your data into one place or several places if you're using a data mesh technology, something like that. But you need to get control of your data and make it accessible to people so that you can start running analysis and really making difference in your organization.
So, hello, welcome to episode 7 of the CCA Podcast. My name is Karina and I'm a publications officer. So with me today we have Ben, a sponsorship offer at CCA. Joining us, we'd like to welcome Michael Berry, who is a technology delivery SME Manager at Accenture. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. How's your day been so far?
Yeah, pretty busy day, but lucky to be able to work remote, so I feel grateful for that.
Wonderful. So you've been with Accenture for like the past 4 years, and I know that your experience in terms of getting acquired into Accenture is quite unique. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that experience and how that process went for you?
Yeah, sure. So I was working for a smaller consultancy company called Icon Integration. So I've been working with them for the last 4 years, a bit more than 4 years now. And last year we got acquired by Accenture. So kind of just before lockdown started coming in, we got acquired by Accenture, and we've been integrating into the organization since then.
That's exciting. I mean, given lockdown and everything, how has that like integration kind of looked for you?
Well, it's pretty fortuitous, really, because Accenture has deeper pockets than a smaller consultancy. So we were about 90 heads across Sydney and Melbourne, and Accenture, I think, has nearly 600,000 staff globally now.
Wow.
Yeah. So the scale is enormous. So we potentially would have had to let some people go from Icon if we hadn't joined the Accenture team. But other than that, not much has changed for me with lockdown. I've been with the same client for the last 3 years. So there hasn't been, I haven't seen much change. I've been very fortunate in that sense. I imagine it would be quite difficult for a lot of my colleagues who are trying to build rapport and trying to onboard with new clients remotely. It's much harder. Things like lots of clients like us to use their laptops, so they'll provide it. So we have to kind of wait for it to get shipped to us once we come online. And then you have to try to sit on the phone with remote IT support, trying to get access to whatever you're supposed to be working on. So that's certainly been different for the industry.
All right. Sorry, Michael, with the acquisition process, I was just wondering, were you working on the same client when you moved from your original company into Accenture, or was there a bit of a change up there?
No, it was I was lucky and nothing changed for me at all.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I mean, we had a good relationship with a lot of our clients, and that was part of the reason that we were acquired. We had some big supply chain clients like Coca-Cola. We were working with them in Japan, stuff like that. So not me personally, but the rest of some of the other team. So keeping those clients has been important. My particular client is a kind of smaller client. So it's less we've had less Accenture staff on there than a lot of the other projects, and a lot of my teammates from Icon are working on Accenture projects, pure Accenture clients.
I mean, what do you think has been like the biggest difference since working at like a smaller firm versus a big global company such as Accenture? Any difference in terms of like company culture? Or I know it's been COVID, so it's probably quite restricting in terms of the amount of exposure you get to like offices and being able to meet with coworkers and stuff like that. But is there anything in particular that you've noticed?
Yeah, well, the Accenture offices in Melbourne are really nice. So we went into some really nice big offices with lots of big screens and new tech and stuff. So that was pretty cool. There's a bit more structure around how we onboard to clients. There's some more red tape. There's more legal. There's more kind of meetings. Whereas when you're a smaller consultancy, you can kind of play fast and loose, I guess, whereas you've got to be a bit more careful and do the due diligence as a big multinational like Accenture.
Awesome. Well, Michael, I guess you mentioned that you were a consultant, and a lot of our members are interested in that sort of tech consulting career pathways, or interested in sort of careers in data. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of the day-to-day, what your role is about, and maybe sort of on the manager level or on the grad level, and sort of how it differs a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So my kind of main day job, I guess, is a BI developer, so business intelligence. I have one core app, which is what I mainly use. It's Microsoft Power BI. But I have a background in the entire Microsoft stack. So that's the SQL Server and the Azure cloud services. I've done some advanced analytics work as well, but that's not my core. I know enough to be dangerous, so I can work with the data scientists and point them in the right way. But I don't have the hardcore statistics background to write my own algorithms and stuff like that. So my day-to-day, for example, I was troubleshooting some reports, trying to design some metrics. I was also writing out a scope of work for some new work that we want to get done to get that signed off by the client. So that's been basically my day-to-day. But it varies from day to day. When you're a graduate, you'll be coming in, especially at Accenture, they have a really great tech academy. So you don't just get thrown out into the wild straight away. They take you through quite a process of onboarding, teaching you how to consult, teaching you the Accenture way, teaching you about new technologies, supporting you with training, that sort of thing. And then as you progress through the levels, you get more and more autonomy. And once you're kind of at my level as a manager, you're expected to be able to quote on work, you're expected to be able to manage staff, and you're expected to be a mentor to the more junior staff, and kind of be a leader within the wider organization, not just on your account.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So with your engagement, which you mentioned you've been on for around about 3 years, did you say?
Yes.
So with that engagement, is it sort of just a small one with like a couple of managers, or is the staff that are sort of on that project from all levels, like managers, directors, grads, or is it mainly just sort of like smaller based?
Yeah, it's been a much smaller engagement than a lot of Accenture work. So it grew out of a proof of concept work that I was doing. So essentially, they were a company that was using primarily a platform called SAP. And that's where all of their business intelligence was housed. And I was brought in to do a proof of concept to demonstrate the capabilities of Power BI. And this was back in 2017. Towards the end of that was just a month engagement. And I demonstrated the capabilities and they really liked it. And so they started utilizing that as a secondary platform at the organization. And then they wanted to develop more, and they brought me back the next year. And slowly Power BI has just been taking over the organization. So they just kind of have kept extending me, and we've built it from just one to we've got about 4 consultants on it at the moment. So we've got 1 junior, and we've got 2 seniors and another junior coming on board.
Yeah.
And we've built everything from starting at Power BI to we've built a whole advanced analytics data lake for them using the Azure cloud. And we're kind of starting to fulfill some of those use cases for the sites, which is really exciting.
It seems like Power BI is really your treasure and kind of what you've definitely spent a lot of your time on. I guess in terms of a client context, what do you think are some of the biggest advantages that data or technology have in terms of like future reach for companies that are looking to grow or just keep up?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a really big question, but you can break it down to its simplest form. So if you're working with a client that has really highly technical staff, say scientists, metallurgists, chemists, highly paid professional experts, and you find this across all industries, that they'll spend half of their day crunching spreadsheets. Like I mean, everyone loves a good spreadsheet, but it's really, really inefficient. If you're paying these people, 6-figure salaries and having them sit there just keying data into a spreadsheet, it's incredibly inefficient. So that if you can automate those processes with a platform like Power BI, then you're freeing up so much time just with that. And then you have the power of being able to get all your data into like a data lake and then run advanced analytics on it. That's where you can really get the step change. But first, you need to walk before you can run. So a lot of companies are excited about machine learning, AI, these kinds of things, but a lot of the time they don't actually even have their house in order to be able to start looking at that. You have to get all your data into one place or several places if you're using a data mesh technology, something like that. But you need to get control of your data and make it accessible to people so that you can start running analysis and really making difference in your organization.
Right, yeah, because I did an internship a little while back, and we used a lot of Excel. It was in sort of the HR industry, but I found that a lot of the time I was just plugging in numbers and figures all day, and I thought this can just, and I would do like a little bit of strategy, and I think my time would be so much better spent on this strategy, and all of this can just be automated, but I didn't really know the first thing about it. So it's good that I guess there are systems in place that are sort of making that happen for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's exceptionally widespread. I mean, every client you go to, you'll find has these silos of people that are just plugging stuff into spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I think, especially as we're becoming more and more dependent on technology, in particular during COVID. It's really become apparent, I guess. I think in a way it's really great that we've been able to transition into working from home, but then getting rid of these tasks that take up so much of our time is definitely the way to go about becoming more efficient and streamlined in the future. I mean, I guess about like the consulting, whole idea of consulting, just it sometimes is a little bit abstract in terms of what exactly the role entails, considering there's so many different backgrounds and areas of knowledge that can really dive into a job like consulting. What has been kind of your experience in terms of what your role entails, and maybe in terms of like how you work with other people, and just a general overview of the role itself.
Yeah, so you're 100% right. It's a very diverse role. There are so many different streams of consulting, especially at Accenture, and we consult on everything. There's kind of vertical slices where you have people aligned by industry, like resources, energy, HR, finance, all of that, like vertical streams of work. And then you've got horizontal streams where you've got people working across different technology stacks, providing. So the part that I am in is called modern data platforms. And so we're about kind of cloud enablement, data analytics, advanced analytics, AI, that sort of stuff. But we're more about building the data platforms and the engineering side of things. And then there's a strategy side of the practice, which is all about kind of what is best practice, what are the up and coming technologies, what's the strategy you can make to bring your stuff forward, what are the policies you should have in place to ensure success, these sorts of things. But for me, the essence of consulting is relationship building.
Yeah.
So we get charged out at quite high rates, and we're expected to be the experts in our field, and we're expected to essentially make the client feel good that they've hired us. That's what it is. You need to provide value, and you need to demonstrate that value every day. But you also need to have the ability to talk to people. There is a role for very technical, specialized people that may not have the softer skills involved. But for my personal journey, it's been really important building those relationships. And that's why I've ended up at the same client for the last 3 years, because I've built relationships internally, and now they trust me. It's not often that you would have a client come to you to ask you how much work is involved in a piece of work. So I'm essentially quoting on work that I'm going to then go and do. And without that trust, that would be a conflict of interest. But because over the time I've built those relationships and that trust, you can proceed, I guess.
I think we might have touched on this a little bit before, but the whole idea of COVID really impacting the way work really looks. I know you've mentioned previously that you've had the same clients for a number of years now, but have you, I guess, had any instances in terms of hearing from coworkers about building new relationships and having, I guess, to adapt to doing everything online, and how that really impacts the whole relationship building process?
Yeah, I've noticed it as well. It is much harder. You have to make a conscious effort. Well, I make a conscious effort to get in touch with the relationships I've already made internally and just touch base and see how they're going. The same sort of thing you do in an office. You just kind of reach out. But I've heard from my colleagues who have been on new clients since COVID that it is much harder to build relationships, because there is a warmth that's missing between the camera. You don't have that instant body language and everything like that.
Yeah, and people always say that networking is such an important part of consulting as well, and especially obviously you've been on a project for a long time, but when you want certain engagements, maybe in specific teams or to be with certain people, I guess networking is really important in that regard. I was also just wondering, Michael, have you done any interviewing of grads either at Accenture or any of your previous firms at all?
Yep. Yeah. So I've been involved with the Accenture specific grad process.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can talk to that if you want.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering what sort of specific like attributes are you looking for in candidates when they are maybe doing any sort of case studies or one-on-one interviews, or even looking at their like CVs or cover letters?
Yeah, so the part that I've been involved in is these group case studies.
Yeah.
So essentially we have a group of 4 to 6 people come in, they get given a case study, and then they have to work together in a really short time frame. They get about an hour to go through this case study and come up with a presentation. Well, they'll come back to a bit of a group and we'll all kind of talk through their presentation, or they'll present and we'll have a couple of questions. But primarily what we're looking to see is how these people would fit culturally with Accenture. You know, are they collaborating? Are they being respectful? Are they problem solving? Even if they don't necessarily have the technical background, are they able to think critically and pull apart a problem that, especially if they don't understand it, and ask questions and interact with the group and kind of, and previously this was all done in person, which was different. I've not experienced that. I've only seen it remotely. But, you know, a lot of uni students do really, really well. I know for my specific area, so for the technology area of Accenture, they do some skills tests as well. So I think like Hacker Rank, something like that. So you've got to solve some algorithms or some problems, and they kind of score you on that. But once again, there are more soft roles available at Accenture as well. We have 600,000 people globally. There's a very wide range of roles available.
I mean, just to end on that, what really, with the wide variety of things available, what really drove you to data? What about it has really intrigued you so much and kind of shaped your own journey, do you think?
Yeah, I just find it really interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a boring thing, but I've always been a nerd at heart, and just seeing being able to automate things, that's what kind of got me excited, is how you can start to automate. I just started with spreadsheets. That's where I started, and I kind of self-taught myself through learning SQL, learning the Microsoft stack, learning Power BI, learning all these new things, and just being able to make pretty graphs. I love visualization. You know, you can take this big mess of a spreadsheet and you can turn it into some pretty graphs that's going to give you some actual insights into something you can do. You know, how can you take this data, this CSV that's sitting there, and then know what to do with it? I think that's where the power of data is.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. It's been amazing talking to you today just about your experience at Accenture and some of your own personal stories in terms of what you've experienced during COVID and also with clients. Thank you so much again for taking the time out.
No worries. So my pleasure. People are welcome to find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at DataberryAU.
Wonderful. Thank you.